so sorry. We don't know if you heard us, but we wanted to apologize for making you all wait for so long. It was not in our hands. We had a 15-minute car journey on Google Maps that then ended up taking an hour, thanks to the rally. So apologies and thank you for waiting for us. Yeah. Hi, Sandip.
Hi, and well, I think it's only fitting in a session about influencers. I think we all got to know who is the real influencer in our city.
Yeah. Definitely not us.
We
Yes, that is true. We stopped no cars.
you stop no cars. There are influencers, and then there is the
There are icons.
influencer,
There
Yeah.
are Didis.
the influencer. But thank you everyone for waiting, and I'm glad that Karuna and Mallika were able to brave all this traffic mess and reach the jail. Um,
We ran into the jail. Like,
First people to run into a
only
jail.
time people have been running into jails.
yes.
I thought for this session that because we have a sort of Shakespearean title, to be or not to be an influencer, I would paraphrase another Shakespearean quote for both of you to begin, and say that some people are born influencers, some have influencerdom thrust upon them, and some are achieve influencer. Which category do you think you all belong to? So,
I want to say you don't know how appropriate this is as a start point because actually we met in the theater.
That's true. In Delhi, we met. I used to work closely with Karuna's sister, and I have to tell you, Karuna was always an influencer
Born.
before it was a thing.
so she was the born influencer, and you?
Uh, I think it was a mix of thrust upon me and by association, and also a little bit of achievement.
Little bit of achievement. But how does the term sit with you? I mean, 10, 15 years ago, that was not a term that even existed. Now, when
today it's
people
the
say
most
you're
coveted,
an influencer, how does it feel? Is it a term you embrace with open arms, or do you keep it at arm's distance, close to you, your heart?
Oh, oh. It's a term I no longer fight. I used to really cringe at it because I was like, are you kidding? Matlab, there's bubbles and then there is this. Uh, but now I'm just like, you know what? If it helps you categorize people, if it just helps you simplify language, go for it. Like, because there's like these are titles, someone in another room I might be called a comedian. In another room I might be called a headache. So these are just titles. I
Yeah.
accept them all.
I also feel in a way that we are almost post-influencer culture at this point. Like, both Mallika and I were part of the first wave of this in India. And 10 years on, 10 years, now we are, I think, 12 years since Instagram came to India. I think these, as she said, these terms, especially to people like us who have weathered this decade, I don't think they matter that much, and I almost find content creator worse because it feels like such a thakawa battle, right? To now create this other term that has more apparent respect to it or whatever. I mean, personally, I still struggle to even introduce myself as a writer. So I'm still getting over that hurdle, Influencer to dur ki baat.
The content creator is a weird thing. Like, I mean, if you create anything, hopefully it's like what else
Yeah,
could you be creating?
anything is content.
Everything is
creation. Yeah,
content
yeah.
creator.
So what I find interesting at this point in the social media world is how now attempting to become an influencer, actively saying, I am going to, there are kids who are graduating from college today who are saying, actually, I'm going to try my hand at becoming an influencer. And I find that very interesting because both Mallika and I, our first wave of audiences, let's say, came completely by chance and by just doing stuff that we love and maybe putting it out there and, having fun with it. But it's not like we were like, right, this is a science, we're going to do this, 15-second clips work, let us put this out, I'll get more followers like this.
But
We
it's
were,
bound
you
to
know, that's,
happen, Karuna. Right now, I mean, don't people come to you, Mallika, and say, can you basically be influencer Didi and teach me how to?
Yeah, and it's ridiculous because I actually don't know. Like,
it's
it
not that
wasn't a
easy.
thing when.
Like, like people will want a curriculum. They'll have courses. I'm sure somebody will do a
Now,
course.
I'm
on
sure
it.
there can be a syllabus, and now there is,
Would you
a
design
list
one?
of stupid things you can do to become one.
Would you design it, but not calling it stupid, but would you design one?
I think I would end up de-influencing people. I'd be like, to just leave this space, become something inside, then,
Yeah.
then naturally it will come out.
I mean,
So I don't know if I'm the right person.
also
but yeah.
that's the other thing, that there is no short way to
Yeah.
success in this down this route, right? Because it's the same way brands come to us and say kuch viral banana hai. I'm like, if there was a formula that worked, everyone would do it, right? But we don't know, and you don't know what's going to resonate with people.
Yeah, it's like
Sometimes
telling a
even I
writer,
don't know
"Please
why
write a
something
best-selling
resonates.
book."
Exactly.
It is exactly
Exactly
that. Yeah.
So so I think the interesting thing now in your journey is, like as you said, when you started out, you were doing things that interested you. You were talking about it, or things you had expertise in, and in the course of that, you become an influencer because people rely on your opinion about these things. Now it's flipped, where somebody wants to become an influencer first and then figure out their expertise
Yeah.
later. Like what to influence, it doesn't matter as long as I become an influencer. So tell us a bit about each of your journeys in terms of looking back, what do you feel was your sort of breakthrough moment?
I mean, we were just discussing yours, so maybe you can, yeah.
I used to. I'm that millennial that grew up without the internet for a long time, and then suddenly there was Facebook and High Five and all this stuff. And so before that, there was theater for someone like me. I used to act on stage, and that is where I started to do comedy, and I started to interact with an audience, and that was my first experience with instant validation. Except the prep behind that instant validation was pretty solid and extensive. It wasn't, the culture of just speaking without thinking and being validated for it was not really there, Itna, at that point. And I think that same thing just ended up getting seamlessly translated to the digital medium. And it helped that around the same time, Instagram increased their video limit from 15 seconds to 1 minute. And people who had something to say and say it in a funny way managed to find a concentrated audience. This is pre-Geo days, as I was telling Karuna. There was a different world altogether. Um, so I think that's how it really started. And in Bombay, the wave was pretty far ahead because there was TVF, AIB, and all of that stuff happening. And talent management, as we know it, was only really there in Mumbai. And I was lucky that I, was approached by the right people, and I decided to take that leap. And I had very, very encouraging parents. So I think that just makes 90% of your life easy. So that's how it started, and then I continued to say yes to everything that came. I don't know how this influencer tag happened, but I think from my end, I just have a habit of saying what I feel. It's not a very nice habit, but it is there. And I think that's the reason.
But among the
Yeah.
various personas that you created that became very popular, the different Didis and stuff,
There's
there
just one
but
Didi,
there's just
Sandip.
one Didi who has many avatars.
No,
of
there
their-
is just one Didi. Yes.
When did you, as they said, kuch viral bana dijiye, when did you suddenly realize, oh my God, this what I created has just gone viral?
It's that video, there's a video I did called Shit People Say in Sarojini Nagar. Now, Sarojini Nagar is a incredible, iconic market in Delhi, and I wrote that, no matter, like Delhi and its class issues are very well known, right? But I was like, this is that one place where you could be a hoity-toity golf links babe, or you could be from wherever, you could have come from outside, everyone will be found there. And I think I just wrote that video, and it was very organic to me because I had seen all those girls. I was all of those girls. And lucky days, man, of the internet, that it reached the right people and it went somewhere. I really feel bad for people who are trying to be influencers or content creators today, because their approach is one of, hey, listen, dekho mujhe. Whereas for some of us, it was like, oh, we're just doing something, and okay, this is weird how technology works.
So can you go to Sarojini Nagar now and like how is you regarded?
I haven't gone since the video, actually, and that was 10 years ago. I should go, actually. I'm sure I can go.
You think, yeah, they'll still be like, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever, ha.
Everyone's chill.
Sarojini, the great leveler.
Yeah.
What about you, Karuna?
So similar story where I was just, I think, doing my thing on Instagram, which at that time was mostly all of us posting very beautiful or not so beautiful, maybe very regular photos, but we loved those filters and those frames and all, and it felt like a very creative space. And then one day I wrote a poem, a political poem, and I remember I posted it and I went back to sleep. It was in the morning. I just put it up and I went back to sleep. And when I woke up about an hour later, my laptop was still open and I looked at the screen and it said 100,000 likes or shares or whatever it was. And I remember thinking my Facebook was glitching. And from there, that poem traveled. And in the next 24 hours, I got a call from the BBC in London. And, it was crazy what happened next. And all of a sudden, I had all these followers. And there was a lot of hate as well right from the start because it was a political poem. I mean, I think the influencer tag came because when, it was that time where anyone who had a lot of followers was suddenly being approached by brands. And they felt that you could speak to your audience about whatever they were trying to sell. And that kind of automatically started happening. And
What was the first brand that approached you? Do you remember?
it was Motorola. Yeah, I remember because I made a little video and I looked at it recently and I thought, oh wow, what an innocent time. I think I charged them 5,000 rupees for that. It was a very sweet time. And I remember thinking, wow, this is
Somebody
big
wants-
bucks for this crazy, And if you actually, it is not uncommon today for big influencers to have, a yearly earnings in the crores, right? So that's why, to put that in context. And I will say one thing that Mallika said that really resonated with me right now is she just kept saying yes to things. And it was a time where you didn't have to think so, there were no agents. We were all doing it on our own. If someone said, oh, do you want to try this? Or do you want to check this out? Or do you want to be part of this? Do you want to help sell this? We just said yes. It was a very brave new world. It was an exciting time. And I think the thing that was very, very different is that authenticity was really being rewarded.
Yeah.
And it was the first time where the people who were the weird creatives were actually in a space where they were calling the shots. And that's what was exciting.
This is very true, what you've said, because right now I was telling my therapist that I was like, I said that back in the day, like when this career happened, it was almost like the universe saying, it's okay, you failed in school, like in subjects, and teachers hated you because you were not doing well in math and you were not doing well in science, but you found your way outside of this cutoff system, etc., etc. But now, today, social media is exactly like the cutoff system, once again.
It really replicates
It's exactly
all the
that.
problems of school, of society.
कि आपके ये कितने हैं, आपके कितने number आए हैं is back. It's
No,
not
and
going
also
anywhere.
now it's the flip side where the person who was very good in math and did well in school is acting weird and cringe inducing in order to get the views and likes.
Because they know how to work hard, right? Without questioning what they're doing. So if you tell them consistently डालो video, relentlessly लिखो, ये करो. They will not be like us and question कि हाँ, but इसका point क्या है? And so they will get ahead. And my point is that this is a creative business / field. All sorts of people should be allowed to exist and thrive. All we request is that when you look at someone, you don't lead with, can you please tell us your insights, your cities, your this, your that? Like, it's almost
like
so
reducing it
rote.
just to those
Yeah.
numbers. And let's also remember, this was before the algorithm.
This was all before the
Yeah.
algorithm.
And that
Yeah.
has really, really ruined this space, right?
Correct.
I mean, now even what you see on Instagram is really questionable, right? What's being pushed on Instagram. Also, what's being hidden. I mean, we saw it firsthand in the last 2 years. I'll just tell a small story, which is actually quite chilling. But, when after the October 7th attacks, when all that started up, I was posting about Gaza. And all of you, everyone here has Instagram or knows how stories work mostly. So we say you post 5 stories. The first will have, say the first has 100 views. The next usually has about 98 or something, and it goes it goes down as people drop off the story viewing, right? Now, imagine I'm posting like a picture of my breakfast, a story about Gaza, maybe a picture of where I am, a story about Gaza. The fact that we post like this is already quite questionable, where we're living these very normal lives and then trying to voice about all this other stuff. That in itself is bizarre to me, and we continue to do it, but that's a separate topic. Now imagine you're viewing those stories. I can see the views. The first story, let's say it has 100 views. The next, being Gaza, would have like 5. The third is again 98. The next, if it's Gaza, has 6. And I kept looking at my Instagram and saying, how is this possible? It's not possible that anyone, and you know the systems with Instagram, no one can skip a story, right? I'm going on watching it, and I'm going on saying there's something very wrong here. So I signed into a friend's account and went to view my own page. And I could not see the Gaza stories. They were just being hidden, right? This is my own experience. This is something that I've seen myself on my own account. I mean, do you know what you're not seeing on Instagram?
Have you experienced, do you notice that if you say something political or something, does it?
Absolutely. I think I won't say career, but my relationship with a particular platform has suffered multiple times. And not just because of what I said, but also because of whose daughter I was. And it's a lot. I mean, and the thing is, being somebody's daughter comes with huge privilege. So then haters will also be there, right? There'll be all kinds of people. And I think what is irritating is that we're all constantly being gaslit that ye hua hai, ye nahi hua hai, because no one is actually going to tell you. Because if you hear the top bosses at these platforms, they'll be like, there is no such thing as
They'll say shadow banning doesn't exist. But we've experienced it. The second you spoke about CAA or something like that.
Anything that does not, even if it is non-political, but it is in opposition to, say, someone who's very big in the entertainment world or whatever it is. And it's weird because we've seen these platforms be creator first, and now naturally, because they became so big, it's everybody now, right? It's fame first. So jitna jo famous hai, utna pehle wo aayega hierarchy mein. So yeah, I mean, it's been weird because half the time we were not used to second guessing ourselves, and we're not used to pitching to the platform. Ki, hey, does this idea work? Oh shit, it doesn't work. Now that means it's not a good idea. It went from being a very easy peasy, open, safe space to being this really weird scoreboard kind of a place. I don't know why that happened, but people say, like a lot of articles say, that 2026 is when we go back to being authentic.
We are?
I don't know.
It's
they
the
also
year
said
of analog.
2012 the world ends. I've been waiting. It's not ending,
It's
Sandip.
not ending.
Like,
World
just
sometimes-
not going.
World is uncooperative in that
yeah,
way.
like I have trust issues with Kolkata Google Maps and these predictions.
But Sandeep, just coming back to the topic, we're talking about these situations and we're talking about influence, right? So it is, I mean, this is a platform, these are platforms that apparently reward the influencer, but they are deciding what you can talk about, what you're allowed to influence people about, and in which direction, So actually, how much influence does anyone have? If you're talking about, I don't know, the best foundation on the market, sure, you're allowed to influence. But talk about anything that is meaningful, you know.
Speaking of meaningful, you said because of you, like whose daughter you are also affects the kind of relationship you have. Both of you have experienced, like in this course of thing, experience great personal turmoil. You lost your parents in quick succession. You had to deal with illness, but at the same time, you have this other online persona that is out there, and thousands and thousands of people think they kind of quote unquote know you because they follow you. Because how did you all decide, dog cat? How
The
did you all
anticlimax.
how did you all decide whether or not you wanted to share something that was happening in your lives with these thousands of people out there?
Gosh, that's a hard one because I still struggle with it, and I'm still struggling with it. Um, I think right at the start when I got my cancer diagnosis, I knew I needed to tune out of social media immediately. I think I finished all the contracts was still working on within a week, and I shut down after that. And I think somewhere deep down, I knew that if I was left to posting in this time where I was mentally very not okay, I would live to regret it. And I just thought, oh my God, I have seen some people who really overshare in very difficult times online, and there's nothing quite as embarrassing as watching that, and it's very, very cringeworthy, you know. So I knew I didn't want to do that. And I knew I wanted to be there for myself and take care of myself in that time. And so it was some kind of uh, desperate self-care. And I say desperate because it is also where I earn my money from. So I was shutting that down at the start of a very expensive treatment plan. So it was a kind of, you know, difficult decision, but deep down I knew. And I think it was at least 4 months before I announced on Instagram, the platform I most use, that this was going on in my life. And the reason I was finally pushed to doing that is because several people were reaching out and saying, you know, where are you? And I realized, and I think Mallika will be able to speak more about this as well, this complicated thing that because people have been a part of your life, you know, even though you don't know these people, they're absolute strangers, at some point you realize you actually do owe them something. And so I did feel I owed that to whoever followed me and was so invested in my life. Um, and the outpouring of love has been incredible. Even as I continue my treatment, there are absolute strangers who reach out and ask after my health. And I will also say in the same breath that I have received incredible amounts of unsolicited advice and some really aggressive, indecent comments as well. One of the things that continually comes up is why I haven't lost my hair. And the fact is that all chemotherapy does not make you lose your hair. You know, it's just how it is. I'm sorry I didn't lose my hair, you know, but unfortunately, that's one that constantly comes up very aggressively. People have asked, are you wearing a wig? Which actually is none of their business. People have said to me, don't you feel your treatment is taking a little too long? People have said, what stage is your cancer? I'm like, do I know you? And these are kind of the really mild ones, actually. There are far worse, one guy wrote to me saying, do you regret getting all your tattoos now because clearly it led to you getting cancer? It's every day is just a delight, you know. So
In a weird way, these are comments that probably people would not see face to face. It's almost like social media empowers people to make these kinds of comments.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I, s- I, yeah,
Uh, Social media is what empowers people to say anything. In fact, I don't think 9 out of 10 people would have the guts to even come up to anyone. And if they did, at the risk of sounding really delusional, they would probably be fans. You know,
Yeah.
like that is how twisted this whole thing is. Um, and it's very convenient on the other side. And I think for every creator or influencer, whatever, there comes a time when you really stop and you're like, listen, ek second. You are never seeing these people who are talking down to you, but you have to see yourself every day, you know? So what do you want to choose? Kya karna hai tumhe? And I think that's good whenever that happens. Coming to sharing, you know, personal loss or grief or a journey of any kind, I think first, I was always very openly talking about my parents on my Instagram. My parents were always on my Instagram because they were my best friends. My mom, my dad, and then, of course, they were personalities in their own right. My
Right.
dad, of course, was a public personality, and my mom, in the last few years of her life, managed to create a wonderful community of people. She was a very culturally rich woman, so she had Bengali fans, she had like Tamilian fans, she had fans from all over India and followers, and they had a sari community. So there were too many people who loved them, which is a huge privilege because imagine that much more immortalized they get. And to date, that happens. So when COVID happened, and I think it was very natural. It was almost like telling family. Ki, you know, people who care about, you inform people who care about somebody, right? If there's something that's happened. And I think that is where it came from because everybody wanted to know, A, that, B, sometimes we couldn't, my sister and I, we couldn't just express on WhatsApp what was happening. So we would just put it online. And yeah, and then it just, I think what I realized through this journey was that it became very difficult for me to create comedy for the first couple of years or months, and even now, many a times. Because not, I mean, what is funny? What's funny is too dark, and that cannot be said. Uh, I don't think we're ready for dark humor yet. But I also realized that my relationship with social media is actually not one of humor. It is one of being expressive. Now, if in this phase of my life, my expression is deep grief, you know, then that will come out. And that will come out unfiltered.
But was that a tough decision for you
It
to
wasn't a
make?
decision.
It wasn't. It like, I mean, obviously, you know, you let people know what has happened with your parents, but then comes this other part where do I let people know what is happening within me? Because you know, at some point, people are like, "Oh, so sorry to hear about your parents," but then people want you to sort of get a get back to what they were following you
Yeah,
for and
yeah.
all
And
of that.
they continue to say that. It
That-
is a daily, what do you say, annoyance, rather. I mean, because uh, at the end of the day, na, you'll have talent managers, you'll have agents, you'll have brands, you'll have XYZ, and they will be like, अच्छा, ठीक है, but हमें तो आपसे comedy चाहिए, that is your currency. And I realized that I was able to do a very specific type of work, which was you call me on set, you tell me I need to do this, and I will do that because that's muscle memory or that's whatever. But that person who used to be sitting idle and just talking shit on her phone, that person went with her parents because that's, I mean, maybe went temporarily, I don't know. But that was the person who felt very safe in the world. You know, that was a person who cracked jokes with her father, with her mother, who was, it was a different human being altogether. And I don't know how to tell them. I'm like, you are probably talking about a person that even I'm looking for. But I assure you that I will always be honest and expressive. That may not be hilarious all the time, but you may find some truth in that. So,
I actually read an interview of yours where you said something rather lovely, where you said, you know, talking about how to deal with this kind of loss and still be a content creator. But you said it's like a maintenance diet that every day you get up and you're like, this is not the world you were born in, and that's okay. I mean, you just have to, this is the world you live in now.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the most natural thing technically to outlive your parents, right? Yet none of us
Are ready for it.
are ready for it and can ever, there's no getting over it. And I feel the harder you ache, the more grateful you are because that's how deep the love you received was. It's very twisted, but it's true. You know, like, jitna dard hota hai, that means utna hi kuch tha pehle. So I guess
No
you just have to
relationship is
accept.
worth anything unless the loss of it means something
But
deeply.
like if there is deep loss, then that means there was
a
deep,
deep
love,
love.
you know. I mean, for most people, and it's life. I mean, there are people going through much worse. I think you have to remind yourself of that. So, wow, sorry for the mood change.
But all right, I'll change the subject to something more prosaic. So because it's about to be or not to be an influencer, um, are there kinds of gigs or offers from brands that you will refuse? But one time you said, well, I would say yes to everything. Now, would you say no to certain things?
Yeah, of
Like what?
course. Betting. एक तो the straight up illegal things.
Straight up illegal though is okay, but
Acha,
the
you
things
mean
that are
morally?
ethically, is there a line in the
Rich
sand?
of you to think I have any ethics. No, I'm joking. I mean, see, I don't have, there's no hypocrisy. I'll endorse a condom, I'll endorse alcohol, I'll endorse all of that. Anything I genuinely consume and do not judge others for doing, I will do. I don't have any of those rules. But ek to, I think I stay away from anything political that is paid for or otherwise. And what else? What else? What else? Everything can be branded. No, today I've forgotten the categories. Ek to I'm such a consumer of everything that everything just qualifies. But yeah, I would not do betting or, you know, tambaku or like, क्या कहते हैं or any other categories I don't know.
Are there things you've turned down, Karuna?
Yeah, plenty. But I've also explained to the brands that I'm not the right fit for you. You know, for example, someone got in touch for a very big fast fashion brand. And yes, when I was younger, I've worked with fast fashion brands, but I've made such a concerted effort to like represent sustainable brands or independent or local brands that, that I said my entire audience has been built as people who are wearing khadi and kantha, yaar. You know, you don't want me to put on this whatever this spandex dress and prance around. They're not going to buy it, So don't come to me. Even if, but that was a nice way of putting it. But I also knew this. It's not something I want my name on. So some fast fashion brands. Oh, my favorite was they called me to do something for Sadhguru.
Oh, yes.
And so I got very upset. And then instead of just saying no, I replied to the person with about 6 YouTube videos and different articles of all Sadhguru's, discrepancies. And I just kept sending them.
करुणा इसकी रील कटेगी और हमारी नींद जाएगी.
What else? I don't like this kind of push from the diamond companies right now to really talk about how natural diamonds are the only diamonds. I don't mind. I'll represent diamond jewelry, but I don't want to say that, So they said the line is that, natural diamonds are the real diamonds. So I said, oh, if a child didn't die in Africa, it's not a real diamond. It's like that. So I didn't want to represent that. So things like that over time. I mean, I can think of plenty others. I'm sure if I sat down.
It's amazing that I could barely think of 3. I love the range that you have. Yeah.
You were still
But I
stuck
think
on betting.
हाँ,
Like
betting, तंबाकू, मतलब because the thing is, I think what wins at the end is being authentic. अब मैं नहीं हूँ इतनी refined. और
So-
करुणा नहीं है इतनी unrefined. We can't switch roles and just be inauthentic.
So now, to bring it back to the topic, to be or not to be an influencer, if a young person wants to be an influencer, comes and tells you, how do I get to be, will you advise them be authentic. Do you think that matters still?
Yeah. Be authentic, be informed. Don't be a controversial loose cannon, like maybe I was at one point. But, or be anything. Actually, you know what? This is such a weird question because there is one right answer, one morally right answer, and then there is the case study answer, where how in Bombay they say कि जो artist कलेशी हैं, उनको ज़्यादा पैसे मिलते हैं, and also anything works on the internet, right? Like you can't say that this doesn't work and this works. But what I would say is that do what has the least friction with you inside. You know, because that is what you will be able to sustain, enjoy, find genuine like takers
Yes.
for. You put on an act, then that's just temporary. I
Yeah,
think.
and please don't call every restaurant you find a hidden gem, because it hasn't been hidden
There are
for
no
100.
hidden
There are no
gems.
hidden gems. In it, if it's
Yeah.
been around for 100 years, it's not a hidden gem.
And keep it hidden, na, if you
Then
found
keep
it.
it
Why are
hidden,
you
not-
ruining it for everybody?
You know, I don't know if I'd advise anyone to become an influencer. I still don't quite fathom how you can become an influencer, even though I've seen it, firsthand with some young people doing this today. But I do want to say one thing, which kind of, we've skirted around this a little bit, whether it's, changing after certain life events, whether it's saying yes or no to certain kinds of contracts, is that the one thing the algorithm rewards is consistency. And I don't mean the consistency of, oh, if you post every day. It means you are not allowed to change. You are only on Instagram allowed to choose, and even not just Instagram, any account, you are only allowed to choose one thing and then push that one thing. So if
Niche.
you, yeah, find your niche, right?
It's your favorite word in Bombay,
if
right
you are, if you are someone who puts up cooking videos, you only put up cooking videos. If you are someone who, I mean, recently this vegan chef in the UK who had huge following, he came out and said, I actually have started eating meat again. Wow, what a suicide that has been. I mean, you need to go look at these comments.
comedy has started.
I mean, there are people posting dead bunny rabbit pictures and all on his feed, like as comments. It's insanity. I looked at it, I said, why did you think that, why do you think people love you? They don't.
No, you have to be a closet
they love
meat
the
eater.
box that you are in. And that is it. And I think one of the things that I've always very consciously done is not, I'm like, I don't have one box. I'm a whole human being, right? And that's exactly what Mallika is saying, where I am not able to produce the same videos that I did under very different life circumstances back in 2015. But the truth is that, I mean, people don't like that. Audiences don't like that. Brands don't like that. They don't know where to position you. And so sadly, if I were to tell someone today, oh, you want to be a successful influencer, I'd be like, pick one thing and
And
stick
be
with
that
it.
thing.
And yeah.
Sorry, we are actually the clock. I forgot to look at the clock. It's out of time. Do we have time to take 2 questions, maybe? 2 questions. We'll take 2 questions from the audience. So put your hand up. Yeah, right in front, the second row. Can we get a mic too? And keep it short and a question, not a comment. And what do you think of it?
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Rira. I have a question, which is how to not get carried away while putting content out there?
Do you ever get carried away?
Many times. Like I started by getting so carried away that I've really self-censored myself into silence now. तो वो तो है ही, but I think you should write whatever you want to say online. You should write it first, whether you take it down in a notes app or you write it by hand or whatever you gather your thoughts. Chat GPT can write it for you, but I think that helps. And also, you have to keep some distance, from the praise and from the hate, both, because both can turn you into very different versions of who you are not. So I would say that keep a distance. Make sure that you have a life outside of the internet. That is so important. Um, and talk to haters. Like sometimes
Okay.
there are days where you just want to tell them why you.
Distance.
I mean,
Thank you.
the one thing I get really carried away with is I love photography and I just love posting pictures, particularly when I'm traveling. And at some point, I'm like, oh God, is this really boring for everyone? Or am I that shitty person who's like, I'm having the best holiday? And so I typically actually, uh, you know, ask someone, like either my partner who I'm traveling with, I'm like, is it too much? And then, of course, everyone's like, no, 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 don't be silly. Do whatever you want. And then I blithely continue. You know?
And you should also. I've realized if you really want to continue with this and you happen to have family and friends who are shy or not into social media, you have to look at it as your discipline. Because what they think as, वो तो phone निकाल लेती है हर बात पे, it's also your work. So,
That's what I say. I'm going to office. This is what I'm opening Instagram. I'm going straight to my office. You know?
correct.
All right, that question back there. Yeah, stand up. We'll get the mic to you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Adrija. My question to you is, do you think because it is a creative field, an influencer or a content creator is a job that AI can take over after a few years?
They can join the workforce because there are like dime a dozen digital AI influencers being created, and the purpose they serve is, say you're a talent manager, an agent, or a company or a brand. You can't manipulate a human being all the time, right? Like some can be manipulated, but those that can't, you can just create them now. That said, I feel they're going to make human beings even more valuable because what the hell, seriously? Like, it's just going to be yet another thing. I, it's hard to say if they'll take away brand work or what they'll do. But I think it's a chance for us to see human beings as irreplaceable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, my primary work is as a writer, and this is a literary festival. So I think for me, the question is almost twofold, right? Because it's, yes, I wonder about the influencer work, but more than that, I wonder about writing. And to echo what Mallika said, I think it's a time where the very flawed nature of human beings is actually our most precious asset. Yes. So, yeah.
On that note, we'll have to end. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you to Karuna and Mallika.
And
Thank
sorry
you.
once again that we
Sorry.
were so late. Sorry about that.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Sandip. You've been amazing.
Thank you.